Hey guys, Scott here to go over the March 2024 update for DBD. A lot of very interesting changes, some good, some possibly very bad. We'll just go over all of them in the order that they are listed, and we will actually pay attention to the dev notes this time, because last time I totally missed a very obvious thing in the dev note, and that was stupid. So, first up, the twins. The twins are getting a full rework, and I am going to summarize this for the most part. I am not a knowledgeable twins player at all. I don't play twins. In fact, pretty much nobody plays twins, so no one even understands this. So what I did was check the opinions of the few notable twins players that I know, all three of them, and I wanted to see what they said. They are all extremely concerned with this change. So that means I'm concerned because they know way more about it than I do. Let's go over the actual quality of life stuff first, which feels great. Reduce the time it takes to switch back to Charlotte to 1.5 seconds, so they have the time it takes to switch roles. They made it take less time to actually send Victor out. They reduced the time it takes for Victor's pounce to actually charge. So these are like add-ons that are just sort of base kit now. It seems to be like what they were doing before. They did that with Doctor. So they're just adding some add-ons base kit, which feels great. You can now recall Victor at any time, as long as he's unbound. And there's now the ability to change between Victor and Charlotte near Hooked Survivor, which I guess their reason is they don't need to limit that anymore because the face camping mechanic still exists and it will still go up if you're near them. So even if Charlotte's husk is still there, the bar is still going to go up. You can't just face camp people because then they'll just auto-hook themselves. So that is, I'm assuming, why they changed that, which, fine. I think that's okay. So they changed some add-ons. Now, here is the massive problem that all the twins mains I know are very concerned with. These two lines right here. Victor's pounce can no longer latch onto healthy survivors, and Victor can no longer be kicked after successful pounces which do not latch onto a survivor. So now Victor latches onto survivors that are injured, meaning that when you hit somebody that's not injured, he doesn't latch onto them anymore, but when they're injured, instead of them being slugged, Victor pounces them on the ground and stays with them on the ground. The whole point here was to try to minimize slugging. So now when Victor has that person locked on the ground, the twins has a 10% haste buff, which is pretty massive, by the way. They're 10% faster to try to go pick that person up or to chase someone else to spread pressure that way. That was their idea, and their logic in wanting to reduce slugging with the twins is, it's admirable. I understand why they wanted to go that route. But here is the huge problem with this and why twins is going to feel terrible to go against individually. So if you're full health and Victor pounces you, you're just going to get hit and that's it. Normally, if Victor pounces on you and, you were injured, then you would have someone kick Victor and there was a chance to recover. Or if you had endurance, then you could kick Victor and there was a chance to recover. What this means now is when Victor hits you when you're healthy, he's just going to hit you. He's just going to go into cooldown for 2 seconds, and then he's just going to hit you 5 seconds later again because there's nothing limiting this anymore. You can't stop him from pursuing you anymore. So he's just going to be able to down people in 5 to 10 seconds, and there's going to be pretty much nothing you can do about it. I've seen people say, just dodge the Victor. No. Even a decent twins, you're not dodging a guy that moves 150% movement speed, who now charges his power even faster. You're just not going to dodge it most of the time. It's almost entirely up to the Victor to miss at that point. Yeah, sure, some twins go for cool over-the-pallet shots and things like that, and that's great and all, but a lot of people are just going to back rev you, go right up your ass, and then just hit you, and there's going to be nothing you can do. So now, even if you're full health against this killer, he's going to hit you, you're going to run away your speed burst, the killer is much faster than you, he's going to catch back up in 6 or 7 seconds and just down you. And that's going to feel like shit. So ironically, the new play against this killer will be to remain injured on purpose, whereas before you did not want to remain injured against this killer to prevent this whole slugging thing. Now you do want to remain injured, so at least he can only do that to one person at a time. So that's bad. That is going to feel terrible as a survivor. Talking about having low forms of counterplay, that's going to be a Victor. As soon as a Victor sees you, you're going to go down in 10 seconds, regardless of your health state. That's going to suck ass. So how do they change that? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not knowledgeable enough about twins to comment on this. I'm just echoing what the really good twins players have noticed that I did not notice. And that, I think, yes, is going to be a massive problem. So this is probably bad. It's going to feel bad. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not sure what they're going to change, but that's going to feel bad. They also did a couple of new things. Victor now glows, quality of life feature when you can kick him. That's cool for new players. I think that's a nice idea. But other than that, yeah, that's not going to be good. Seems like the Twins rework is yet another Twins miss, but we'll see. Next, Blight, possibly super nerfed. I can't tell from how they describe this. So, improved collision detecting to reduce cases where the Blight slides off of objects. This is known as hug teching, or where you face the camera a certain way and you can kind of like glide along an object. It's something that all the best Blights do. It seems like they're changing or removing this, which would mean the overall skill ceiling of Blight is about to come way, way down. So that actually will reduce the overall strength of top-end Blights. Now, the actual add-ons they have are also weaker than before, except maybe the new Eerie. So overall, Blight for the first time is actually notably weaker and probably more along the lines of being hillbilly strength now than being a clear second place. But this is entirely determined on what exactly this means and how specific these changes are. This is a very vague patch note. Collision detection has been changed. These are things we need to actually physically test in the game, in a PTB or something like that. So it's really hard to tell how much this could change Blight. It could legit make him not the second best killer anymore, or it could be a couple of niche instances where you can't hug tech on this loop and whatever. He's still very good. So this is something we have to test. Nothing else to comment based on that. Haddonfield, one of the most problematic maps in the game for 7 years straight for various reasons. So the first thing is they reduced the overall size of the map, which I'm always okay with. I think the smaller the maps, the more uniform killer strength becomes. And the length of hedges and fences create more openings, so they're trying to prevent that old Haddonfield thing where you'd have giant fences. I honestly didn't notice it that much on the new Haddonfield. I did not think that was really one of the big issues. They said it's very time consuming to get around. I would notice this around the basement building sometime. There'd be a pretty long hedge, but for the most part, it wasn't nearly as bad as old Haddonfield, where you could like have a killer this far away from you and it takes 50 seconds to catch up because of the wall or the fence involved. So it was never that bad. But they did change a couple of other things in the map. So they adjusted the various houses to reduce the strength of strong loops, which is very, very good. Some of these houses had ridiculous windows that had safe options upstairs, downstairs, on both sides. You could pretty much never win a chase as a killer unless you were a killer whose power specifically was built like to counter that, like if you were Trapper or Hag or something like that. These windows were way too strong, and I'm glad to see that they're without a doubt nerfing them. They've also reduced the number of houses on the map entirely. So where there used to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roughly houses, but they might chop off 2 of them now, and we'll have, you know, an empty park area, kind of like that one corner near Myers' house. So I think that is probably a good idea. Now, the change that they need to make there, though, is making it so the middle of the map is now stronger, which it seems like they have done. So the street tiles now have more pallet loops, and this is good. This is what we wanted them to do with this map. Make it so the god buildings were not god buildings, and make it so the middle is not Dead Zone City. So now it seems like less strength in the buildings, but more strength in the middle to overall balance the map, and that's pretty much what we wanted. Now, whether or not it ends up being good enough, I don't know. We'll see. But they have the right mindset behind fixing this map. It used to be that this map was, the first version of the rework was actually killer-sided, but only because of a 3-gen that could spawn. There was a generator outside the front porch of the Myers house that could basically have the most disgusting 3-gen over. And if you didn't play that, you would lose. But if you did play that, you'd win. And it was kind of stupid relying on that. So overall, these are good changes. Let's see how it actually is in game, but I'm happy with this so far. Decisive Strike. I wouldn't even consider this a minor update. I'd consider this a major update. So DS is being buffed back up to 5 seconds. This is what it was for a very long time before being nerfed to 3 seconds. This, I think, is the perfect version of the perk. It's not abusable to where you can have DS and just do gens and heal people and do all these actions for free, and then just have it for free at endgame and things like that. So it has all of the restrictions of current DS, where it's disabled at conspicuous actions and it's disabled at endgame, while having the stun time of the old DS of 5 seconds. So what this will do is just simply make tunneling less effective, which I say great. This is either going to force killers to get better at the game, or they're just going to stop playing. Either way, the overall skill of the killer base will increase because of this change. I'm 100% sure. It's not going to be instant. It's going to be a gradual thing over several months. But when you're less reliant on tunneling, your overall map knowledge and macro gameplay gets better, and this will overall make killers better at the game. Or they'll just stop playing entirely, which means bad killers are leaving, which means the overall skill still increases. So same result. So this is a 2-second change, which doesn't really seem like that much, but it really is. And before everyone starts freaking out, oh my God, everyone's just going to run DS dead hard off the record and body block aggressively off the hook and stuff like that. You guys got to realize you can already do that. You can do that right now. Nothing is stopping you from currently doing that if you want to. The only change is the distance that you're able to get before your Decisive Strike has value. So all this will do is make Decisive Strike actually do something if you're in like a dead zone or you're against like a Blight or a nerf or something like that. You'll actually be able to get to something and then actually benefit from it right now. Because as it stands, if you're hooked in a bad spot and you're tunnel immediately with your DS, if you're in a dead zone, it doesn't really do anything. The good players will know how to path to a good area to benefit from the DS. But like I said, that's something that they can already do right now. So that's not really going to change that much. All it's going to do is help the average player with getting tunneled. It's not really going to change the fact that very good players were already using this build to a very good effect. It's just going to make, the average player less susceptible to the strengths of tunneling, which I think is exactly what needs to be done, and that's a good thing. And I've already seen people on Twitter saying, I'm going to run DS dead hard and, off the record, stuff like that. And, the best part is, good. I hope everybody that I go against for the next 5 years, that's their build. They just run 4 anti-tunnel perks, because then that means I'll just be running against 4 perkless survivors for my entire time playing this game. That'll be awesome. If you have an entire build that is disabled by simply just not tunneling, then okay, please use it. I'm perfectly fine with that. The old versions were stupid, DS Unbreakable and things like that, because you couldn't counter it, and they could still do gens in your face and still progress the game now entirely. Now, you have no excuse anymore. It's disabled at endgame, and it's disabled if they do anything to help progress the match. So, just stop tunneling as much. If you're so worried about these anti-tunnel perks, don't tunnel, and you won't get hit by them. You will ignore survivors' entire builds, and you'll actually do better. That's why I'm not worried about this at all, and I think this is a wonderful, very good change. I know, I'm trying to talk about it universally. Obviously, this won't affect me because I just don't tunnel, but even for killers that do tunnel, I think in the long run, it will help you be a better player. It'll help you be less reliant on that. I promise it is possible to win without doing that. You just have to learn macro gameplay, which again, admittedly, is very hard to do. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy challenge, and I bet some people will just say it's not worth it and just stop playing, and that's a shame. But I do think overall, for the health of the game, this is a very good change. And I agree with people like Otz that say that this should be more of a base thing. You shouldn't have to pay for Lori to get Decisive Strike to make tunneling not good. I agree with that entirely. But I think this is a good start. I would almost prefer DS be like a generic universal perk that you can get for free. It still has to be something that you dedicate your build towards, but it's not something you have to physically pay money for. So I understand that criticism, but overall, I'm very happy with this change. I think this will increase the overall skill of the player base. It's not really any more abusable than the current version of that. People forget this build still exists right now. You can still do it. The only difference is now it'll be a bit safer to use in like a dead zone or something if you're getting tunneled. Still, if you use it aggressively, it's probably not going to go good for you. But that's Decisive Strike. Adrenaline, however, has seen a nerf, which I'm neutral about this. I didn't really think it was a problem, but I'm also not upset that it is getting a little nerfed. So the speed boost is now 3 seconds instead of 5 seconds to bring it along with most other exhaustion perks. And now it does not work if you're on the hook. It doesn't save your adrenaline anymore. So now if you're downed at endgame, you're put on a hook, then the last gen pops. When you get off the hook, you're not going to have that adrenaline anymore. This is going to make killers endgame significantly stronger because it was always extremely disheartening to unhook somebody. It's your only chance of getting another kill is that person, because obviously everyone else you're not going to be able to hit twice. So you'd have to hit that person, and then they would just get adrenaline. You're just fucked. So this basically will give killers another concession kill at the end of the match. But it will still be very useful in scenarios where you're the last one being chased and the gen pops, or you have 2 people slugged and then someone makes an adrenaline play, and that can completely shift the game. It'll still be one of the most game-changing perks in the game. It's just that one specific scenario now is not going to be a thing anymore. So I'm okay with that. I didn't really think it needed a change, but I'm actually completely okay with that. Ultimate Weapon is now getting nuffed. I don't know how to describe this. So now it's not a scream thing anymore. Now it is a aura reveal thing. The activation time is now 15 seconds. This doesn't mean the aura reveal is 15 seconds. It's still going to reveal probably only for a couple of seconds. But the activation time means that it will pull people from your terror radius for 15 seconds rather than 30 seconds to make their auras visible. Again, they don't seem to list exactly how long the aura reading is going to be, because a scream is a flat thing. You scream, you see the bubble, and that's a flat thing. But aura reading has to have a duration, and there's no listed duration here, so I'm not really sure how that's going to work. But they did make a comment here where it says it'll no longer interrupt survivors' actions, though survivors won't know that they're being revealed to the killer. I don't understand that, because you'll still know, because you'll get blindness for some reason. You'll know you're being affected by ultimate weapon because you'll see the blindness debuff, unless they have said that it's not going to blind anymore, but they have not mentioned that in any of these lines. So I don't know what they're cooking with that, because you'll still very clearly know, because it'll say ultimate weapon blindness in the top right. It may be that they just remove the blindness entirely. If that's the case, and this is sort of just like a different Darkness Revealed at this point, where Darkness Revealed can reveal people across the map near lockers, but they have to be near lockers, where this is, it can reveal people near to you in a locker of your choosing. So it's sort of like a different effect, which would definitely be more balanced than the current version, because the current version is just too strong. But the fact that they don't list the blindness here too makes me think they're removing it entirely. I'm not really sure. So let's let them clarify that a bit more. Remove the ability to lose pips. Great. Nothing else to comment. That's a good change. Store, I find this funny that this is a major update and not the very huge changes to the perks themselves. They've basically just changed the overall store layout to be a lot more palatable. You can now get entire DLCs through the store rather than having to do them separately. So just quality of life stuff. That's cool. Fortnite looking ass store. That's fine. I don't consider that a major update. That's sort of whatever to me, but that's cool. Archives have changed a little bit. New tomes in the respective rifts will now open at the same time as the update. Good change. New rift bundle option, which grants the premium rift rewards and a 20-tier head start at a discounted price. I used to buy those things because I had infinite Auric cells. It's really not worth it. I don't recommend you buy the head start things. But other than that, those are the changes. Quick recap, Twins thing, a huge miss in my opinion. Blight thing, we need to test. Could be nothing, could be huge. Haddonfield seems a great change. Decisive Strike, great change. Adrenaline, fine change. Ultimate Weapon seems fine. Emblems, great. Store, whatever. Archives, whatever. So overall, 7 out of 10 maybe we'll give them that. It's not bad. Definitely better than a lot of the recent updates. But there's a couple of concerning things that I hope are addressed. That's it. Thanks for watching.